ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode, we have a Gladiator sequel update and a release date for Book of Boba Fett in the news. Trailer talk this week. No trailer talk, but we do have teaser talk. We'll get to that. The new streaming list is going to be a little light this week, but Disney Plus is actually packing a decent list, so look out for that. We'll get to what we're watching, of course, and then our main review for the episode. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. But before we get to any of that, I am joined today by Annihilation Nathaniel Gingrich.
Hello. I'm Annihilation Nathaniel.
Causing so much annihilation over there.
Constantly. Just
Yeah.
taking
If
things
you had
apart, rebuilding them.
If you had a Venom like symbiote, what color and like kind of design would you go with?
I think
Because
purple
obviously
would be
Carnage
cool.
is like more drippy. Venom is just kind of standard, obviously black and standard, and then Carnage is like a little bit more like drippy and red and everything.
I think
What does
purple.
Annihilation Nathaniel look like?
I think purple would be cool. Purple?
Purple?
would be probably what I would go for. And then
Like a hot purple or like a deeper purple, darker purple?
something a little deeper purple, more like like a violet, I would say.
Okay.
I
can see it.
And I think purple and black are always a good color combination, obviously.
Do you have
And
like
then,
black eyes instead of white eyes?
No, I think I keep the white eyes, but I think
Okay, where does the black come in then?
I just think because you just mix it up. You're always like there's always the hints of black in the symbiotes too.
Okay, true. I'm also joined today by Tyler Verdalis.
Dope.
You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What color are you going with?
Red's my favorite, but just for the sake of not doing red because of Carnage,
Do you
I
like a
think
different shade?
Nah, that's okay. I think I do like a yellow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tie. I'm envisioning like a biohazard yellow.
Kinda either that or
Yeah.
like just go like full out like Ferrari yellow. Yeah,
Okay.
just like bright as shit.
Super
Obviously
bright.
with like the black like mixed in and then like bright white
black and
eyes.
yellow.
Yeah,
I
that'd
like
be
the
sick.
Steelers colors. Took that dub against the Steelers.
Sure did.
Yeah. Fuck
Suck
the
on it, Ben Roethlisberger.
He's done, man. I can't believe he's still playing.
He's old, bro.
I said the same thing watching.
He's
the game
he's
the other
like 55,
bro.
isn't he?
day. Yeah.
He's only
Yeah,
like 39, I think.
No.
It's also funny because Aaron Rodgers had 400 touchdowns before he did. He's been in the league longer.
Really? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's like a
Good for
milestone.
Aaron Rodgers. That's the one thing
Right.
I'll talk good about the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is. If Tom Brady didn't exist, Aaron Rodgers would probably be like
The GOAT,
number 2
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I think at this point, it's hands down Tom Brady. I don't think you can really make an argument for many other people. There's a few.
Yeah, man. 6 rings is
It's hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Man. In football, that's a crazy feat.
Yeah. Especially like leaving a team and then the first year you go to your new team, you win a Super Bowl. Like, come
Yeah.
on. And you take a team that was like, they were decent, but like you just elevated them to a Super Bowl ring. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's almost unheard of in football, dude.
Yeah, for real. And rounding out the squadron over there is Big Butcher Blake. Cool.
Hey.
What color are you going with? Green?
Man, believe it or not, I wanted to go with yellow, but
Yeah,
Ty
okay.
went fast. That kind of threw a fork in that. But yeah, I'll rock green. We'll go the neon green.
The neon green?
Yeah.
Mystery Machine green?
Yeah, kind of like
Okay.
chemical-esque. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Extra drippy, for sure. Would you guys have
Yeah.
any like special like superpowers with your symbiotes? Because like Venom, again, kind of standard, but then Carnage has like those extra arms in this movie. I don't think he really has those as much in the comics. He's just more kind of like oozy in the comics than Venom is.
yeah, I think
like,
kind
would
of
you
in the
guys have-
comics-
Yeah, what would differentiate your
Go on.
symbiote?
That's tough. I don't know, man. That's tough. I think some kind of I mean, it's probably a really cheap answer, but some type of like duplication or
Ooh,
something of
okay.
that nature. I think that'd be cool. But
You could like spawn little symbiote
yeah,
minions. Yeah,
right.
that'd be cool.
Little butchers.
Little butchers.
There we go. Baby butchers.
Baby butchers. There you go. There you go. Nathaniel, any cool symbiote powers you getting?
I was trying to think. I think just like I'd take the standard Spider-Man ripoff where he can kind
Would you?
of swing around and do all that
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I don't mind that at all. You know.
Yeah,
Right.
that'd be cool.
I was thinking
For the
yeah,
most part, is what Venom has. Just
right.
not
Yeah.
Yeah.
In movie context.
Or I guess you could do like one with like wings or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool
That'd be
if you could
cool.
like fly.
Yeah.
That'd be dope. What does Terror Tie have?
Kind of like you said, it almost like radiation, but I
Okay.
want like when I touch things, I can choose to like melt it like acid.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the
It's
choice is key
acidic.
there. It's not like
Yeah.
everything you touch melts, but it's like
Yeah, it's a choice.
yeah, exactly. If you please, you can just melt shit. I like it. I like it. Cool. Well, stay tuned for Venom, Let There Be Annihilation, Terror, and Butcher.
What was yours gonna be? Did you answer for yourself?
I did not. Color wise, I think like a midnight blue would be cool. Like a dark blue, but not quite black. Not necessarily navy, but kind of close to it. As far as like a superpower, I love how if I just had like if I was almost like like tabletops at the gym, where like they're super built up top and like no legs, and I almost like a tank or something from like Left 4
Okay.
Dead, and I was just
Yeah,
massive
yeah.
up top, use
Yeah.
basically my arms to move around and just swung and hit shit. That'd be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not expect that, but okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I
Hey.
think the four of us could do some damage.
We could, yeah.
I feel
could
like
do
we've
some
also
real
like
damage.
chosen Ninja Turtle colors too in some ways.
a little bit, a little bit. But hey, there's only so many colors to choose from. There's gonna be
That's
some
true.
overlap, of course.
That's
Yeah.
true.
My other option was like pink, but like Power Ranger pink, like just hot pink.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. But I think the midnight blue would suit the aesthetic of this movie better. Speaking of movies, let's get into some movie news here, guys. Ridley Scott gives update. Gladiator sequel update says script is being written now. So this was originally announced in 2018 that he was going to be working on a follow-up to the original Gladiator.
Has it been that
From
long?
2000. Yeah, so it's been a few years. Obviously, we haven't had much come of it, and still not much out. But it looks like it's kind of at the top of his list right now. He has 2 movies coming out this year. He's actually, I guess, 3 if you count that one that came to HBO Max. I forgot what it was called. Something like Wolves.
I didn't even know
We did
what
a
it is.
trailer talk for it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we never reviewed it or anything like that.
Oh,
He
wasn't
had
that a show?
and then he has. Sorry.
Wasn't that a show? Raised by Wolves?
It might have been a show.
It was a
yeah,
show,
Raised by Wolves.
correct.
Yeah, it was a show. And then he's got Last Duel coming out. I believe that's October 15th. And
That actually looks
then-
really good.
Is he
If
directing
it wasn't for
that?
Halloween Kills, I would be
Yeah,
more
I would
excited for
definitely
that.
be down to review that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If only like No Time to Die and that movie switch release dates.
For sure.
Yeah. And then he's also got House of Gucci coming out later this year as well, slated for
House.
release in November. So he's been pretty busy, but he's going to be focusing on Gladiator next, it seems like. So I don't know how long it'll take to get this out. If I had to guess, 2023, 2024, since the script's not even done yet, and they have to do
Sure.
all that production stuff. But we talked a little bit about Gladiator last week, coming to, I think it was Netflix. One I need to still get to, but this is obviously kind of considered like a classic film like that. I don't know if you guys want to speak to that more. Are you guys excited for this?
I'll be interested to see
Yeah.
what they decide to do with it. Because, like, it's just kind of a what's the point movie to me right now.
Yeah, so in the story, they do talk a little bit about what it's going to be about. They say the sequel was first announced in November 2018 and is slated to follow Lucius, the son of Connie Nielsen's Lucilla, and nephew of Joaquin Phoenix's power-hungry and immoral Commodus. Commodus?
Commodus.
Commodus, sorry. Both Lucilla and Lucius were saved by Crow's Maximus from the embittered royal Roman Empire before the Gladiator passed on to be with his own slain family.
Okay. Spoilers.
So, and I think it said also somewhere that's going to take place about 25 years after the original. So some time has passed.
Yeah, I just wonder.
When is the original Gladiator? Isn't that like 2000?
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't care 23 years later, to be quite frank. You know what I mean? So I'm not too interested in it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll watch it, but I wasn't asking for it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It's not something you were actively waiting for.
Correct.
Or clamping or
yeah, like
for.
I feel like even if you want to take something that's similar, like The Matrix, there's a new one of those coming out, right? And like and that's a 99, so similar era, and I think definitely big culturally in the same kind of way, but there's just I just because I know the Wachowskis, and I feel like you never know what that next story is going to be, and there's so much inbuilt into The Matrix that there's always going to be questions. I guess that makes me a little bit more excited, but for like Gladiator and just the story that they told, no part of me is left at the end of that going, well, I wonder what happened next, and even that thing of the sun or anything like that, there's that story is not set up in Gladiator 1, so I don't know. So anything can be good, but yeah, I'm not asking for this.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Well, we'll have to wait TBD, because obviously pretty early on that if the script's not even finished, but who knows? Maybe we'll get around to it when it comes out.
Yeah.
Could be.
But I know 3 of us will probably get around to Book of Boba Fett, which gets a December release date on Disney Plus. It'll be coming December 29th for the first episode. This is going to be a spinoff of The Mandalorian, of course, featuring or focusing on the character of Fennec Shand and Boba Fett, of course.
As they kind of recapture or try and establish some territory on Tatooine, yeah?
Yeah, so the
Tatooine base.
So the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, you obviously see, I think, was it a post-credit scene, or was it just the end of it?
Might have been a post-credit scene.
I feel like it was a post-credit scene. But you obviously kind of see it set up in that post-credit scene where Boba Fett comes back and kind of takes over Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the sidekick who was currently in power there, but he's a character from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I was trying to think of that too.
Ty, do you know?
He's got the long worm.
Yeah, the thing comes around his neck.
They're always called something like... They're always called like Nefarious Crump or something like that. Like they always have weird, very descriptive names.
Are you talking about his little thing or the guy?
No, the guy.
I was gonna say the little thing's name is Salacious Crumb.
Yeah, that's one.
I have a picture of him.
Of Salacious Crumb.
From it's like an on-set picture, and it's signed by his puppeteer.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think Justin and Alex got it for me.
That's dope.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe he makes an appearance in Book of Boba Fett.
One can only hope.
December 29th, that's like barely a December release date.
Yeah, it's like tail end of
basically
this year,
January.
right after Christmas. But I think that's a good spot for it, to be honest. I mean, not as of now, besides Hawkeye, we don't have much around that time. So it actually seems, I think Hawkeye starts
November 28th.
November. Yeah, or late November. That'll go for 6 episodes. So this will probably pick up either next week or 2 weeks after that ends.
Right,
So
yeah.
good spot to kind of pick up on that. They've been doing a good job of kind of tying these shows together in a way where you always have something to watch. I really feel like since WandaVision started, there's never been too much of a gap on Disney Plus of things that we haven't been, wanting to watch week by week, because you had WandaVision followed up almost immediately by Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think there was about a 3 or 4 week gap to Loki or so. And then What If started, and then we had Star Wars Visions. So there's been a lot of stuff coming to Disney Plus, and they've been keeping a good job of getting that updated and keeping people interested.
It's true. Eventually, I think you'll have like a Star Wars and a Marvel show, if not running concurrently, having pretty significant overlap.
Yeah, eventually they're going to get to that point because they'll ramp up production on both of those, and once more pandemic things are loosened up and we get out of that kind of era of production where it's harder to make those things. So eventually we're going to see some overlap for sure, which is good. I think more content for both those things can only be a really good thing as long as they're good shows.
This is true.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of it for news. We're going to transition into teaser talk here, which is also a bit of news. But we have the first trailer for House of the Dragon, the prequel to Game of Thrones, featuring Matt Smith. Let's see who else is on this. If it says, it does not. So I don't have the cast list in front of me right now. But Matt Smith is the main, looks like from this teaser, the main protagonist of the story, if you will. He will play, if I can find, Prince Daemon Targaryen.
Some Targaryen.
Yeah, he plays a Targaryen, which is one of the main houses of the Game of Thrones show, of course.
Now, have we all watched the old Game of Thrones? I feel like Blake, out of all of us, would be the only one that hasn't.
Blake hasn't, right?
Nope, I have not.
Not up your alley, as we've established, I think, a couple times before.
Yeah.
So did you watch this teaser?
To be honest, I did. Just because we had to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really tell you the gist of it or what's going on. I know Game of Thrones always looked good aesthetically to me, right? Just kind of due to that time period and dragons and stuff. But I've just, I mean, as we already know, not to harp on, I'm not the biggest fan of TV shows, so I just kind of always just left it off to the horizon.
Cool.
And
Tyler?
that's a big one to get into, too.
I mean, yeah, there's like 8 seasons or something, right?
Yeah, there's 72 episodes, I think.
I
Each
think
about an hour long.
I think the three of us were pretty big Game of Thrones fans. I think all of us have been pretty open that not necessarily loving how it ended, and I think that's a pretty common thing amongst Game of Thrones fans, right? So did this bring you back in, Ty?
A little bit. I think the pros of everything that happened throughout 8 seasons is definitely outweighing the overall ending for me.
Sure.
So I'm still in on Game of Thrones. Obviously, everybody could, have a better ending. There's not a perfect movie. There are some that are very close. Check the top of the Entropy list, but it's very hard to find that. And I wasn't horrified by the ending, but it was a little disappointing. But like I said, I was never completely out on Game of Thrones. The person I initially noticed was Matt Smith, even though he was in like full makeup. But I have known him from Doctor Who days, and he is one of the Doctor Who's that made it very easy for me to watch that show because some of it can be very difficult, especially on the early on stuff. And obviously, like David Tennant is another one, and then Peter Capaldi. So yeah, those are like the newer ones. Those have kind of got me in, so I know what Matt Smith is capable of.
Sure.
So I'm very excited to see him in something that I also know that has a lot of potential. So I'll be excited to see where this goes for sure.
Adam, how were your feelings?
Great. I mean, I don't love the ending of Game of Thrones, but I have never hated it as much as a lot of people have. And so I'm more with Tyler, where it's like the first 6 seasons and even season 7 I enjoyed. I completely outweigh how that show ended because I think it was going to be very hard for how they ended it, and there are definitely ways they could have ended it better, but I just kind of accepted what it was without the guide of the George R.R. Martin finishing the book series for them. I think it was going to be kind of hard for them to do that, and they obviously didn't do it as well as they could have. But I've always been excited for this ever since they announced that they were making a prequel, and so this just makes me even more excited. They have a preemptive release date of sometime in 2022, so we're getting it next year at some point. I don't know if it's officially finished production, but it's got to be close because I know they've at least been filming for a few months. But yeah, I'm definitely in. I mean, this trailer even got me more excited for it. I'm excited to go back into that universe. I'm excited for a brand new story, and they don't have the guidance of those same books. This is going to be pretty open, it feels.
Oh, we lost him for a second there. I think he said he was feeling that it was going to be pretty open, and they have a lot to work off of. But we're back now, folks.
All right. But yeah, they got a lot to work off of, and that's in that show, in that universe. There's a lot of directions they can go, and I think the prequels will be a good place for them to kind of show how that universe, how we got to that Game of Thrones universe originally, and that definitely seems what they're going to go for. I think the Targaryen house is really interesting. There's going to be, I saw somewhere on Twitter, there's going to be like dozens of dragons in the show. Like there's going to be
really?
a lot of dragons, which I'm excited for. I mean, go batshit crazy with that. It should be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm definitely on board for this. 100% going to check this out. There's nothing really stopping me. I don't have any apprehension about doing so after the show ended. I know there is a lot of apprehension out there, or a lot of disappointment, and you know, it is what it is. I think most Game of Thrones fans, if you guys enjoyed the first 6 seasons, this show a chance and see what it's like. I don't think the original show ended.
They've sold me for at least 3 episodes based off the trailer or the teaser. Okay. I think that's where I'm coming at it from at this point, and I'm kind of in the same camp of like, you know, the way Game of Thrones ended for me was just fine, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't really feel the need to come back to it. But coming off this trailer, I say like I said, they've earned my attention for the first 3 episodes. We'll see where it goes from there.
Sure. I definitely think this will get me to rewatch the original show, because I've been meaning to for a while, but that's just such a big investment. But I have recently invested in the 4K Blu-rays, all on DVD. So whenever I get back to whenever this gets announced, like the release date for it, I'll probably be going back and rewatching the original show in the months going up to it. I've waited to read the books until all of them are out, because I know like if I read them now, I'm going to just want to reread them before rereading the last book. So I definitely want to read the books at some point, but I want him to finish the series. And I think he still has 2 books left. And it's been like 10 years since he released the last one. And then he released like a prequel book.
He did, yeah.
Before releasing the actual ones, which kind of pisses me off. But hopefully he finishes them before he dies, because he's pretty old. So he should really
kind of what everyone's afraid of, yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully he does finish them, because that would suck to have something like that and not have a proper ending. Because I have faith in him to end it better than the show ending, and I think I will be very content with the show, even more so if like I can just kind of
nails the book ending. Sure.
Exactly. I can accept the first 6 seasons as like the direct adaptations. I guess the first only 5 are direct adaptations. I think 6 is when they kind of veer off a little bit, but regardless, I think I can accept what parts of that show are directly from the book, and then kind of use the book as like the complete ending and complete package of what Game of Thrones is. I think that'd be good. But yeah, I'm excited for this. Anything particular in the teaser that you guys want to talk about or point out? Or are we just kind of overall like on board for the most part?
I think we're probably overall on board, ready to hear about your other big list that you pay attention to.
Oh, you talking about the Adam Schwartz's completely subjective new to streaming list?
Well, that would be the one, yes.
Ah, okay. Well, this one's going to be for the week of October 3rd through October 9th. For any new listeners out there who don't know what the streaming list is, there's a lot of things that come to the streaming list every week, and this is what I have cherry-picked and deemed worthy of maybe your time and recommendation if you guys are looking for new things to watch. So coming to Netflix, we're getting Dave Chappelle, The Closer. This is going to be his 6th new special.
God, he's had 5 on there already.
Yeah, I think so. And he only came back in like 2016 or 17. Like, he's been cranking them out. Now, Blake, you're going to have to check this out and let us know how much of this overlaps with when you saw him a couple weeks ago. Because if I had to guess, usually most times with comedians, they'll, right after they film a special and they're still doing shows, you reuse most of that material because people haven't seen it yet. But they also will try some new stuff too. Because I saw Chris D'Elia I think I saw Chris D'Elia and John Mulaney right after they filmed both of their last specials, and it was very similar, but also there was some new stuff. Sure. So I'd be interested to see how much of this overlaps. But he also strikes me as the comedian who's like, it's filmed, it's done, on to new material, and it'd be really cool if it was like completely new stuff that you saw compared to this, but hopefully there probably is some overlap.
Yeah, I'll touch on that on the what we watched, but yeah, you're onto the right path.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely excited to check this out. His stand-up's usually pretty good. So, also coming to Netflix, There's Somebody Inside Your House. This is a horror thriller ahead of Halloween from producer Sean Levy, who did Stranger Things.
He did.
Yep. And the movie follows a group of young outsiders who are hoping to stop a serial killer.
Yeah, I was wondering if this was going to be. Have you seen a trailer or anything for this yet? Has there been anything like that?
There is a trailer for it. I didn't watch it actually, but this is a Netflix original. I figured it's more of just like something you can throw on if you're in the Halloween mood. I haven't heard any reviews yet for it or any buzz about it.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was going to be kind of more of a young adult style series because
That's definitely what it seems like.
Yeah, Sean Levy works often kind of in that realm.
Yeah, they do seem like more teenagers.
That's cool.
So it'll be along those lines. But maybe I'll check it out. See.
Have you guys? Well, since we're on the subject of the streaming services this week during Adam's completely subjective streaming list, have you guys noticed the like the Halloween setups that all the streaming services have done so far, like the Huluween and the HBO Max's Halloween version, little page or whatever?
I like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Me too. It also
puts you in a festive spirit.
I was gonna say it makes me feel like fall is kicking in too.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's a good
time.
I agree, dude.
Having that stuff is a good like go-to place for like if you know exactly what you are in the mood for, you can just go there and get your fix. Also coming to Netflix, Pokemon the movie, Secrets of the Jungle. This is a new animated Pokemon movie about Coco, who meets Ash and Pikachu and must team up to save his home. Another Pokemon animated movie.
I was gonna say there's gotta be like 50 of these by this point, right?
Yeah, there's a lot, but hey. More Pokemon. I'm not going to complain. I'm very excited for this Diamond and Pearl remaster coming out in November. So, get you in the mood.
I never played
That's it for Netflix. To Amazon Prime, you're getting Prometheus 2012.
Cool.
Hey.
That's going to be it there for Amazon Prime. Hulu and HBO Max don't really have anything worth mentioning coming, but Disney Plus does. They got quite a few things. So, you're getting Black Widow, free to watch, no more pay $30 or whatever it is. So that's coming just straight to Disney Plus. Watch that at your leisure.
I saw Disney and Scarlett settled their case.
Oh, did they? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I was.
What ended up happening?
Hearing about it. I think she got somewhere in the neighborhood of a $40 million settlement, and they're both excited to possibly work together again in the future. So there you go, folks.
Okay. Yikes.
Hey.
All right. Well, I guess good for her. The rich get richer.
I mean, she's pay her what she's owed. It's what the contract says. Don't try and skeeve your way out at Disney. Like it's not her fault that that's what they were gonna pay her.
Right.
Didn't you say Emma Stone might go ahead and do the same thing for Cruella?
Oh, I don't know if I said that. Allegedly.
I don't know if you, I feel like I heard that somewhere that they were.
I think there was. I think there was
tagging onto her lawsuit. Or
I think there's a lot of like stuff at the time about like, well, everyone's going to start doing this, which who knows, like who's writing those articles and all that kind of stuff now too. But
who actually knows what anything's going on over there? Yeah.
Who knows anything anymore?
All right, we'll also come into Disney Plus. There's going to be a show called Among the Stars. This is a 6-part docuseries with fly-on-the-wall access into the wider world of NASA with cameras on Earth and in space. NASA astronaut Captain Chris Cassidy is on a quest to get back in his spacesuit for one last mission. This series follows Chris and the wider team who take on missions that risk life, limb, and reputation for the greater good of humankind. Join them as their missions unfold.
This looks cool. Sounds
nice
cool.
Little space docuseries. Which is always
that sounds
fun.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like space.
This next one.
What are you guys more afraid of? Space or like deep water, like the ocean?
Deep water, the ocean.
And things of that nature.
Oh god, the ocean terrifies me.
Yeah,
the ocean
crazy
is
shit
space.
down there.
Did I ever
You're damn near right, Tyler.
Did I ever tell you guys about this book, the book that I read that had the crazy ocean ending?
No,
you might have mentioned it.
All right, so tangent time here, folks.
All right, go ahead.
So my aunt recommends me because my aunt's like one of my big reading buddies. She and I always trade books back and forth to each other. It's very cute. We're awesome. But she's like, she recommended me this book. She's like, I know you like horror stuff, and like this book, it stuck with me the way it ended. And I was like, all right, whatever. You know, she's an older lady at this point. You know, what we think of as horror is completely different. But I read this book, and it's like kind of one of those trash action pulp novels that you read about all the time. But the bad guy of the story, who's revealed like 3/4 of the way through, in the final pages of the book, he's taken this serum that will keep him preserved in suspended animation, right? So that he could survive for a longer voice, because his secret base is in this ice cap that's on the bottom of this iceberg, and it's going down. So he gives himself the serum so that he can be rescued later. But the serum wasn't quite working right, and they realized that everyone that had used the serum beforehand had also used a sleep potion, and a sleep. Not potion. What's the pharmaceutical word for potion? Sleep drug. But they realized that everyone did it was because when you put yourself into suspended animation, you stay conscious. So the book ends with him trying to escape from his villainous lair in this little pod, having taken the suspended animation potion, but sinking to the bottom of the ocean where it is pitch black, completely cold, and he cannot scream or breathe while the world just closes around him and he's just conscious forever. And that's the ending of the book. And I was like, wow. It's so much more intense than the rest of the book. Then I was just like, what is this? And it keeps me up at night. Now it's going to for you. So just think about that when you're trying to go to bed.
It's a terrible way to go out.
But yeah, that's what
I don't like the ocean.
Yeah,
scary.
That's what's worse, I think, to me. I've made the decision.
I like the ocean.
Scary, man. I don't think we belong in the ocean. Not our place.
The ocean doesn't belong to us.
That's true.
Due to evolution, that makes sense.
Yeah. As weird as that sounds, I'm one of those people that's like, save the ocean. I don't care what it takes.
Oh, save the ocean.
Save the animals, save everything.
Yeah, do all that shit, but like I don't want to.
Hey,
I went to
space
Florida
too
for spring break, and it was nighttime on the beach, and I just looked out and saw black and like the edge of the world. And I was just like, wow, that's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah, we're on a massive tangent. But yeah, I've went on a
fine.
cruise early 2020, right before the pandemic. And there was a few times where I was just talking to my friends and stuff. It was a group of my friends. And you would just look out like from like the top pool, like the patio area, and that's a whole nother level of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the middle of the ocean and you look out like you don't see anything. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. Just the amount of things like below us and everything. So yeah, man, the ocean is a scary place for sure.
No doubt about it.
So back to the list. This next edition is for one Joe Madison.
Hey, shout out Joe.
Shout out Joe, but he probably won't be happy about this. This is called Fauci. It's a National Geographic documentary about Dr. Anthony Fauci and his handling during the COVID-19 pandemic. So
okay,
there's a long description for it, but you can kind of get the gist. It's kind of following him and how he handled everything and went about things during such a crisis. So I'm sure Joe would love to check that out. We're also getting Marvel What Ifs, the season finale. So I believe this is episode 9, 8 or 9.
This
Doesn't
is
give
true.
me episode number. It just says season finale. But I think it's 9.
I'm pretty sure it's 9.
Yeah.
9?
Speaking of oceans, we got Drain the Oceans season 4. This is a show where experts use modern technology to scope the seabeds where ships sank, cities lie, and treasures hide. With this data, they try to theorize natural wonders and disasters. I kind of saw a little bit about this as far as like images and stills go. They basically try to like map the ocean and like show you it with no water.
Okay.
And like how the
It's an
floor of
aggressive
the
title.
the
Like
sea
what the terrain looks like.
Yeah, exactly. So by using like sonar and stuff like that, they can kind of map that out. Which seems kind of cool. It says season 4, so I don't know how many seasons of this there are. I guess 4 of them, but like I don't know how they're filling those seasons with content. It feels like that could just be like a one-time thing. Maybe they're just discovering different parts of the ocean and showing that, but I don't know. It sounds kind of cool, so maybe check that out if you'd like. And the last thing coming to Disney Plus and this wonderful new to streaming list is Muppets Haunted Mansion. The brand new special will feature a star-studded Muppets cast, celebrity cameos, all new music, and spooky fun for families to enjoy together. Muppets Haunted Mansion takes place on Halloween night when Gonzo is challenged to spend one very daring night in the most grim, grinning place on Earth, the Haunted Mansion.
Love the Muppets. Love the Haunted Mansion. I could enjoy this a lot, I think.
Yeah?
It's true. I like
Nice
Gonzo,
little
too.
Halloween
Gonzo's one of my favorite of the Muppets, I think.
He's up there for me. Definitely up there. One of my brothers, I think it's my brother Scott, the one you had beef with very early on. I believe when he was younger was scared of Kermit the Frog.
Oh.
Fun fact for you. Don't mean to call you out, Scott, but I did.
Very, very interesting.
Next time I see him, I'll be singing It's
Yeah.
Not Easy Being Green.
Which one? Bert
Very
is,
threatening.
Bert's the yellow one, right?
True. Yeah, and Ernie's orange. I had
Yeah.
a little
Yeah,
stuffed
true.
Ernie when I was a kid.
Dude, I had a super cool like Ernie sweatshirt in like 5th grade, and I remember it to this day.
Ernie was the tits.
You still
Yeah,
have it?
man. Nah, no way, dude. I wish I could like
Was
pull
it
it out to see it.
was it
But it
Ernie
was,
in sunglasses with a gun and it said like I'm from the streets on it and it's airbrushed? Like you saw
No,
it
I
at
don't
every
think so.
mall
It was
in
like,
about,
it was
2004.
It was yellow, or excuse me, it's orange. Excuse me, zip up, and it had a massive Ernie face on it. Then it was like I don't even know the term, where they don't even make clothes like that anymore, where you could like wear it inside out.
Oh,
What's the word,
reversible.
what I'm looking for?
Reversible.
Reversible, yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy that it took me that long to come up with that word.
Crisscross.
But you could wear it reversible, and then it was like very small, like polka dots with Ernie faces on it, with Ernie's
is-
faces on it.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, man, probably my favorite hoodie in 5th grade. If you could find any photo of me from like 2006, that's what I had on like 90% of the time.
What up, Ernie?
I love it. You might have to find one of those photos for us.
Yeah,
Blake.
I'm gonna ask my mom and see.
All right.
All
All right. Bit of sizzle. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll tweet it out.
Blake,
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get it.
Blake's
Yeah.
Ernie sweatshirt.
Well, let's get into what we're watching here, guys. I'm gonna kick it off with Mr. Ernie himself, BlakeHolder.
Hey, okay. Put my letterbox. So yeah, I got to a handful of things, man. Started. Well, actually, let's backtrack. Let's backtrack then. So prior to the best month of the year starting, I watched Straight Outta Compton. So I watched that last Wednesday, I believe.
I still haven't seen that yet. It's
Yeah, I
supposed to
haven't
be
either.
real good.
Yeah,
right?
man. This is the first time I've watched it since it came out.
Okay.
And I thought it originally came out in 2017 until I clicked it, and then it was 2015. So
Wow.
about 6 years, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So and it still holds up. It's still really good. I thought it was really good when it came out. You get to see Ice Cube's son play Ice Cube.
Right. I remember that.
Keith Stanfield's in there. He plays Snoop Dogg,
Oh,
and that's something I didn't put together in 2015, right until
Mhm.
watching it.
That's
So yeah,
so
the
funny.
cast is awesome, man. Really good movie. The music of the soundtrack is awesome. They play a lot of the NWA music, Tupac music. Yeah, very good. Pretty long though. I think it's like two and a half,
Oh, really?
That is
I
long.
believe, and some change. Yeah, but good
Is that streaming
substance.
anywhere?
No, I own it. I own it
You
on
own it,
Vudu.
okay.
But yeah, man, that was the first time I saw it in a long time, and definitely I was like, oh man, I remember watching this. So really good
Yeah.
movie. I would recommend for anybody who's into. I guess it's kind of a biopic. I guess I don't know
Sure.
what other word to use.
Yeah,
for
it kind of is.
But yeah, really good. So then after that, I got to a few things because October started, which basically means Halloween started,
This
which
is true.
basically means I only watch horror movies. So what I ended up getting to, I watched Halloween 2007, the Rob Zombie one.
Okay.
Rewatched that for the first time in a while.
Very
and
different
that's
vibe.
Very different from the first Halloween that
Yeah.
we reviewed last year, right? From what is that, 79? Same kind of plot, right? Where it's you're being introduced to the character of Michael Myers. It's his version of how he feels Michael Myers is. So you could see him as a childhood and all that type of stuff. Drastically different movie. It's a mid 2000s horror movie, so obviously it's like super fucking gory. There's a lot of swearing. It's Rob Zombie. Cool, nonetheless, nothing crazy. On top of that, I also got to House of Wax.
Oh, okay.
Oh
From
god.
2009.
Starring
Yeah, so I
Paris
went, like, on a
Hilton.
mid 2000s horror binge. And I think I actually like House of Wax more than Halloween 2007
All right,
after
fair
watching
enough.
them kind of back to back.
I
So,
don't mind that.
Okay. Yeah, have any of you guys seen any of those? I'm sure Nathaniel has. I'm sure Ty's at least seen Halloween 2007.
Yeah, and I've seen House of Wax, but it's
Okay.
been a really long
Yeah, I was
time.
gonna say House of Wax. I remember like seeing like on at a party one time. Like,
Yeah. It is one of those horror movies. You get
Right.
a Paris Hilton spoiler alert
Right.
for a fucking 15-year-old movie. You get a Paris Hilton decapitation. So it's just like it's a fucking awesome movie. So
Halloween.
have you seen that, Adam?
Couple
I haven't
times.
seen either of those. What is House
Okay.
of Wax about? I've heard of it. But...
It's actually a remake, I believe, of do you know when the original one is, Nathaniel? 70s?
Oh, sorry, I muted myself for a second. It's way older. It's a Vincent Price movie, so it's
Yeah.
50s
Oh
probably.
jeez, yeah.
trying to find- 1953.
There you go.
Wow, yeah.
But yeah, basically, there's a guy that's running a wax museum, and he's may or may not be murdering people to be putting in the wax for the wax museum. So, take from that what you will, basically.
Yeah.
And in keeping with the 2000s mid 2000s twist, everything's got to be like taken to 11, way gorier, way more like
Right.
dark rooms with flash photography and like
Mm-hmm.
new metal stings and everything.
Yeah, I was like, it's heavy, it's like rock metal
Yeah.
soundtracks. Same with Halloween 2007, all
Yeah.
those type of movies are like that. But yeah, it's cool. The cast on that one's okay. I see a few people that I recognize from some other movies when I get into there. And let me see if I can get you guys the names of any of those casts if they ring a bell to you.
Pretty sure Hollinger's
So
got
obviously,
a video.
I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
So I'm pretty sure Hollinger's got a video on House of Wax. Sorry, I was trying to get that in there while you were looking them up to help you out.
Yeah, he does. So yeah, there's somebody who rang a bell in here because he's in Freaky Friday, which I oddly remember and I didn't know until I watch it. It's gonna be a Chad Michael Murray.
Okay.
Anybody if that rings
Yeah.
a bell. As I said, Paris Hilton. Robert Richard is in it. He's done a few things with Disney, like way back in the day when we were young. So he's also in Coach Carter, things of that nature. So yeah, kind of an interesting cast. They're all teens when it comes out, so it's your regular teen horror movie. Nothing crazy, but nonetheless, a horror movie. I was like, hey, I saw it on HBO Max. It's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and watch it. On top of that, I got to Dave Chappelle, The Closer. So the reason I wanted to watch that is because I saw Dave Chappelle, what was that, maybe 3 weeks ago in Milwaukee. To Adam's point, there is some of the material, right? Because I know this was filmed in Detroit, and I
Okay.
think it was filmed in Detroit. I want to say a little bit, it might have been a week or two before when we saw him in Milwaukee,
Okay.
like as part of his tour. So there are some jokes in there. That you can see he kind of has like a set list, probably 7-8 jokes that he kind of goes to, but then everything else is just off the crowd, how it feels,
Yeah.
location based, because he had like jokes about Milwaukee and Chicago and things of that nature. Still very funny. So yeah, I would recommend that. And then I got to what we got on the docket, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Went to the movies Saturday morning.
Ooh, a little
shout out-
matinee.
Yeah. Shout out Ty. Went to the 10:30 show.
Heyo.
So
Nice.
yep. Woke up, worked out, went to that, and it was cool. I'll have some thoughts on it, but ready to get back to some more horror stuff. So I'm trying to watch about 3 horror movies a week, just kind of like on a Halloween binge. So I'm gonna see if I can do a different like subgenre each week. So I did kind of mid 2000 horrors now. See if I might dig into found footage or something. There's a new VHS that just came out.
Is
So I
there?
want to see if I can get to that. Yeah, man. VHS 94.
Where'd
it
they
came
drop
out
that
today.
on?
I think it's on Shutter only. So I'm gonna have to
Ah.
subscribe to
I
Shutter
know,
so
I
I
thought
can
about
watch it.
going back on Shutter. I
Yeah.
had Shutter, and then like midway through the year last year, I was like, this is the one that I like just waste money on. But now it's like
Yeah, right,
Halloween
$5
again.
every
I'm like,
month. Never click it.
damn, I might want it
So,
again. Well, you've got.
yeah,
I see
so-
you've got your banana pillow to protect you. that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
keep
yeah,
showing
yeah.
off.
Does anybody know these guys' names by chance?
I think they're
Do
just
they have
bananas.
names?
Just bananas?
For
Banana
I don't
peels?
know. I think-
listeners, for context, Blake is holding a plushy banana peel from Mario.
Correct. We referenced it last episode.
Yeah.
I have it physically available today, not for purchase, only for snuggles.
There you go.
They don't seem to have names. They just
Nah.
go by like banana peels.
Banana peel.
The banana folk.
Peel 2. So we'll see. VHS comes out. I'm gonna try to watch that, and I'm gonna try to do found footage next week, and we'll keep it rolling each week. So I'll keep you guys updated. That's what I had this
Please
week.
do.
Who wants to go next? Takers.
I'll go.
Cool.
So yeah, I've been keeping up with kind of my shows that I've been got on the go. One of those, Assassination Classroom, Adventure Time, Ted Lasso, new episode came out. Still all caught up on that. How you guys doing there? Adam, you caught up?
I did watch that episode.
Cool.
Another good one.
Yep. I think one more episode left in the season.
I believe so. I believe
So,
next week is the finale.
Right. So Tyler, you'll be allowed to get onto it soon if you ever decide to pony up for Apple TV or. Find
I'll just
someone?
get someone's account. I'm not
There you
gonna
go.
pay for that dog shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to say dog shit, but
Somewhere.
there's no way I'm paying for something I'll never use. I have 0 Apple products in my house.
Somewhere Tyler's Apple account just dropped to $0.
Anti-Apple.
They're
AA.
gonna take back all of his Napster downloads that he had from the early thousands.
No.
What if stayed caught up on that too? And then what is the new stuff this week? So I've watched a show that a lot of people have been talking about, Squid Game. Watched up to the 6th episode, I want to say.
I've only seen the first episode.
Okay.
How is that?
Very good. From what I only watched the first episode, but I liked it a lot.
It's I think it's good. It is good. I think most of you guys will like it, or I think most everyone on our panel, the squadron, would enjoy it. It's another.
I think you would like it a lot. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
I think you would like it a lot. It's definitely one of those shows that you mentioned how you watched. What was that Spanish movie you watched last week? The Tower or something like that.
The Platform.
The Platform.
Mm.
It's definitely similar to that in some ways. How it's like kind of like, human psychology, what people would do in certain situations, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also a bit of a critique on, capitalism or socioeconomic statuses and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think you'd really enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, I would really appreciate it if it was not if I could get the Korean sub with a better translation, because when you watch it in the Korean or the original Korean, the subtitles that play with it are the subtitles for the American translation.
Are you sure about that? Because I watched it in the dub and I noticed repeatedly almost every line is like not what the dub is.
Yeah, they
The
don't.
dub and the subtitles are different.
No, yeah, it's backwards for the other thing too. It's like it's
Really?
yeah, it's jacked. So
weird.
yeah, it's not good. But the acting I think is incredible. It's got a kind of a thing right now where it's like everyone's kind of talking about. I think very very popular. And it feels a little bit to me like one of those things where it's people are kind of like, oh, I've never seen anything like that before, and it's like, well, as film fans, I feel like we've definitely seen things similar in the vein before, like The Platform, or even like your battle royales or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's still a good example of that and everything. I just got to the episode. Episode 6 is a very kind of emotional, climactic episode, and to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm gonna finish it.
Really?
I just feel like most of the story has kind of reached its emotional endpoint now, and the last 2 episodes will be something. Or I don't know. We'll see. I may end up going back to it, but I liked it, didn't love it, I guess is the short version of my my review there.
Do you guys think that there's going to just be an American adaptation of it? Like there is with everything else?
I hope
just
not.
With how big I see it's on social
Yeah.
media,
I
I
hope
give
not.
it 2 years, and it's probably
People are
gonna
already
stop.
watching. I don't think they will just because people are already watching it, and hopefully just proves more of a point that people are willing to watch foreign films, or maybe this is something that will make people watch foreign films more, and that we don't
Sure.
need
Yeah.
the American adaptations of it. Because I don't think people would necessarily watch an American version of this if they've already seen the original, because enough people already have. This is set to be the most streamed thing Netflix has ever put out, or something like that.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're
it's put
saying.
up really
It's
big
number
numbers.
one in 90 countries or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that actually kind of plays in a little bit to another thing that I watched this week, which is one I got to last night, which is a movie called Let the Right One In. Blake, have you heard of that at all?
Is that about vampires?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Talk to me though.
Yeah, so
what are
it's a Swedish film, I want to say,
yeah.
off the top of my head. But it also had an American remake that came out not long after it did, called Let Me In. So the original is called Let the Right One In. That came out, I want to say, in 2008. Correct, yeah, 2008. The remake was in 2010. And I have seen the American version back in high school, I want to say, but I'd never seen the original. And I would say for the majority of American audiences, they will enjoy the American remake actually better than the Swedish version. I think they do a good enough translation and kind of adaptation that for most American audiences, they will get more out of that than they will the Swedish version. But that being said, I think everyone on this podcast should watch the original.
What did you find that on?
That was on Hulu.
Okay. Yeah, that might be enough to get me to watch it. So, especially if I end up taking a vampire week or something.
Yeah, not a
foreign
super,
week.
not a new super scary version of it. I would say think like a vampire story in the vein of more of like a Pan's Labyrinth or something like that, where it's almost more like this is a story about the world of vampires and stuff, but
Right.
still really good. So beyond that too, because it is Halloween or October, I should say, we are in the fall spirit. Last week I got to Evil Dead 1. This week I got to Evil Dead 2. With the idea of eventually getting to Army of Darkness and the series, hopefully through October here. So yeah, if anyone hasn't seen Evil Dead 2, it's a classic. It's awesome. Go watch it on HBO Max.
Very comedic.
Very comedic. Yeah, kind of the one of the OG horror comedies, and really kind of mining that vein for sure.
Right. Did you get a chance to watch that YouTube link I sent you?
Not yet, but I will,
Okay.
my friend. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Just on an overall style standpoint, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I got to besides Venom, Let There Be Carnage was actually a movie just prior to the recording of this podcast called Titan. It was the winner, I want to say, of the Palme d'Or at Cannes this year. Let me double check that. But it is a French movie. I was selected for Cannes. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's a French movie by a director called Julia Decournau, I think is how you maybe pronounce her last name. I'll take a stab at that, calling it that. But she also directed a movie called Raw, which came out a few years ago. That got pretty big, I think, in some of the horror circles and that kind of thing. This is a very weird, very French movie that I think even myself am still kind of processing. But it's definitely one that I think I'll be thinking about for a while. It kind of centers around two characters, one of which is a woman that as a child had a titanium plate put into the side of her head, and kind of this relationship she builds with a firefighter who had lost his son at a very young age, and kind of what their moments are like. But it's also very surreal. She may be giving birth to some sort of kind of titanium shell baby thing. It's very out there, but also kind of primal and strange. It was interesting. I'm obviously still kind of I think processing it overall.
Sure.
It's listed as a horror movie. I didn't find it really horrific, and I thought the trailers were maybe a little bit mismarketed in some ways, and it's just going more to my theory that I just can't watch trailers anymore, and I just need like an Adam Schwartz subjective list of just everything that's coming out each week, and I'll just go based off that. But yeah, other than
back to like the '60s when you just walked up to a theater and
right,
saw what's on the marquee
yeah,
or watched what was interesting, what sounded interesting.
picked out of the
Hey, that
newspaper.
goes back to what we to what we were just talking about pre-pod, Nathaniel.
It's true.
The AMC, that horror thriller,
Yeah.
kind of whatever ticket they got going on Wednesdays and Fridays.
But yeah, it's kind of cool. But overall, I think it's at the end of the day, it's a movie that's distinct and interesting, and I just I'm always happy when someone's doing something like that. I'd take 1 million of those over the next Free Guy or something.
Sure.
That's a movie that's just soured in my mind the longer I've thought about it. But anyways, Tyler, how about you?
You want to know what I've been watching?
I want to know what you've been watching while I go fill my water.
Called.
I mean, that's fair. I could understand that. So obviously I was gone for a little bit this week, so I didn't get around to as much as I probably would have if I had an extra 4 days at home. But I was very glad to be out of town. So Leah and I got to a little bit more on Manifest. We finished the first season last night when we got home. Still in. I actually like the season finale. I thought it was a pretty good way to go out. Season 2 is also on Netflix, so we jumped into that immediately. We got into season 2, episode 1 last night, and then second episode tonight. So cruising right along with that. Don't have any plans on stopping. I did
liking that more.
Yeah,
I remember you said you were kind of iffy on it the first season.
Yeah, I think towards the end of the season it picked up a little bit, and I was very happy that I kept watching it. And when I was watching it today, the fall will just always go down as the best part of the year. And so anytime I can watch something during fall and there's like a cold breeze coming in my window and I get to like hug my blanket a little bit more, and Carolia and I are just kind of snuggling along, it's right there where I'm like, this is a good show, because like everything's just coming together. So towards the end of the season here, it definitely picked up for me, and I'm definitely liking it a lot, and I hope season 2 picks up. So still really good on that. On the plane, Leah and I watched Bohemian Rhapsody on the way to Florida.
Oh.
I had seen it, she had seen it, but still really good movie.
Was it on the back of one of the head things, or did you have it on like a phone or something?
On the flight there, they didn't have those on that. We flew to United, and that wasn't quite installed on those. So watched it on the phone on the way there, and then on the way back, we watched The Edge of Tomorrow. Classic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How did you like watching that on a phone? I mean, I know before, I think you told me to watch A Quiet Place on a phone. I think you said that's how you did that.
Yeah.
But how did you like just like watching something on a phone on a plane?
I just meant headphones in general. I am so used to consuming media on my phone,
Right.
that
like
it does
YouTube?
not bother me. There were times where I found myself just being uncomfortable because I'm 6'2", I'm in an airplane, and looking down,
I hear you.
looking down on a phone isn't always that fun. If I was able to kind of pick my head up and like look a little bit more straight ahead, I think it would have been a little bit more comfortable. But other than that, that's just me being 31. And
There are some planes now that have like come out with like a little phone holder that flips down in the back of the tray. Now too.
So the reason I asked, not to cut you off, is because that's how I watched the original Candyman when I went to Phoenix. I watched it on my phone, and the plane had like the little slot above.
That's
and
cool.
I was like, oh, this actually isn't that bad. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I was just curious like how you felt about that.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I consume so much on my phone already that watching anything on my phone really isn't that big of a deal.
Sure.
especially because cell phones nowadays you can get like OLED screens and stuff like that.
Right,
So
of course.
you can even jack up the brightness and the contrast is still really going to be good. Especially when you do, like Samsung, who makes TVs and stuff like that. But like obviously Apple also makes, pretty decent products, which I think those are actually Samsung screens. We don't have to get into that.
That's another podcast.
Adam, your 13 is so cool.
It's the best. Actually, your S21 or your S20 Ultra doesn't stand a chance against my 13 Pro Max. That promotion display is crisp.
Listeners, I'm sorry.
So yeah, we got to both of those, to and fro. And then I actually did get to something earlier in the week that I'll probably go back to that I kind of forgot about until just now. It's an anime. It's called Tower of God. I haven't gotten anywhere past the first episode.
Is that on
so
Netflix?
We'll see how it plays out. It is on Netflix.
I feel like I saw the trailer for that.
Yeah. And there's like this tower guardian, and he's in charge of everything. And I'm assuming this kid just has to basically fight his way up to a tower to see, of course, a girl.
Of course.
So yeah, we'll see. First episode, he fights like this big like fish dragon kind of thing. So
casual.
We'll see. Other than all I got is Venom. Let there be carnage.
Venom.
Well, I'll finish this out here then. I actually have a decent list. So
tell me about your decent list.
I watched What If episode 8. I still haven't seen episode 7, which I think is the Star-Lord one. I forgot which 7.
Thor.
Thor. Yes, that's right. If Thor had no siblings. I haven't watched that one yet because I heard a lot of good things about episode 8, and I only had time to watch one episode, so I figured I'd skip to that one, which was awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
You made the correct choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you notoriously did not like the Thor
have
one.
to go back and watch 7.
I'm going to just because I want.
I know you will.
It's fine.
Yeah, but So I heard a lot of good things about 8, and those good things held up. It's probably, I don't know, it's really up there with the Doctor Strange episode. But I'm excited for the season finale. I think they took it in a very interesting direction, and I'm glad they did because it actually made it feel more of like an actual show to me rather than anthology stories. This last episode has actually made it feel a little bit more cohesive altogether, which is awesome. I'm glad I think what they did with the characters was really cool. I don't want to spoil it, but there's one moment where I was just like, wow, this is actually really cool, where Ultron meets Thanos.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that part was really cool to me, so I thought that was kind of fun. So I'll leave it at that. But so watch that. I'm gonna go back and watch episode 7 eventually, and then also the season finale whenever that gets up. Squid Game episode 1, as I said earlier. Don't really have much to add more on that. I'm definitely gonna watch the rest of the show, and so I'll kind of report back when I do. Kept up with what we're doing or what we do in the shadows. I'm actually caught up to the live episodes, so I finished season 2, and the strangest thing has happened in season 3. It is actually really good. It's actually,
you're
in my
back
opinion,
on board, huh?
Yeah, I'm definitely back on board. It's to me my favorite of the 3 seasons so far. They've just been changing up the character dynamics, where different characters are interacting with others in ways that they really haven't in the first 2 seasons, because the first 2 seasons were pretty standard, and so they kind of just been switching it up, and it's been fun to see that. So I've been enjoying that a lot. I'm probably going to keep up with that. I also want to, now that I'm caught up with the show, I want to go back and watch the movie that came out a few years ago. I think it'd be
the movie's
good to kind
excellent.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. So, and I'm sure I'm going to like that a lot more, because that's Taika Waititi, right? He doesn't really have much of a
I don't
hand in the
believe he
show.
directed it, but he is in it. He is
Okay.
one of the main characters.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, because I'm definitely going to go back and watch that, because I've heard really good things about that. So I'll have to find where that's streaming at. Since I've caught up with what we're doing in the shadows, I need a new show to watch, and I was already on Hulu, and I was like, you know what? I'll go back and catch up with Dave. So I have restarted Dave, started back in the first season to rewatch that, because I haven't seen it since it originally aired, I believe in 2019. So I'm going to go back, finish that first season, then finish out the second one. So I'm only five episodes in the first season, but it's been fun to rewatch because they're still really funny, and I've forgotten a lot of that show, so the jokes are kind of hitting for me as if they were new ones. Still a very good show. Blake, have you gone back at all for season 2? Oh, you muted yourself, Blake.
You're right. I went to blow my nose and I muted myself. So I started season 2 when it first came out. What was it, maybe 2 months ago or so?
Yeah, about
And I couldn't get into it, man. I think I watched the first 3 episodes. And to your point, the jokes just weren't hitting as good as the first season. The material wasn't really there. And it just didn't seem as relatable to me. I mean, it's unfortunate because the easiest thing you have to compare it to is kind of like in Atlanta. I think Atlanta tackles a little bit more serious subject matter, but it's almost like Atlanta got even better on the second season. So like I had really high expectations for Dave on the second season, and it's almost like they regressed. So I was just, after 3 episodes, I was like, first one I wasn't too sold. Then I was like, okay, let me try the second episode. Then I was like, I'll try the third one last straw, and it still wasn't too good, and I just kind of left it as is.
Yeah. From what I've heard, I've only heard limited things about the full second season. I've heard it actually builds up to a very good ending in the last 2 or 3 episodes.
Sure.
But I've also heard like the first few were not hitting for people. So I'm definitely gonna commit to it and finish out the whole second season. I don't know if there's gonna be a third, but we'll see where that goes. I'm at least enjoying this rewatch of the first season, so I'll keep you guys updated on that, of course. For my film class, my history film class, I watched a movie called The Conversation. This was, have you seen this, Nathaniel?
I have not.
Okay. This is
Coppola?
directed, I believe it's Coppola.
With Gene Hackman?
This is post, Gene Hackman, Coppola. This is post Godfather. Yeah, for Coppola. It was a very weird movie, to be honest. I didn't love it. It was just very slow and more methodical. But it was still kind of cool. It was more of like a psychological thriller in some ways.
It's a famous, more tension built off what you don't see than what you do.
Sure, kind of. They developed the story very slowly. It's 1974, so I'll kind of give you guys a rundown of the story. You've obviously had your chance to see it if you haven't. So it's basically, it follows, the main character is a like surveillance guy, a surveillance expert, freelance. So he kind of goes around and does jobs for CIA or private people, whoever he needs to do. And he's recording this conversation between 2 people, but he doesn't know why he's recording it. And he's got some past trauma from some previous things he's done as far as surveillance and getting those people, revealing secrets about those people that eventually got them hurt or killed, basically. And so he's just unsure how this conversation is going to affect their lives. And so it kind of affects him deeply. And so you kind of follow him as he's piecing together this conversation from different recording devices. He has to piece it together slowly because he recorded it from multiple angles and mics so he could get the whole conversation as they move around and stuff like that. Like I said, slow burn, not a ton of payoff for me. This was not something I enjoyed watching the whole time, but it was still kind of cool. Definitely emblematic of that style of thriller from that era for sure, because we're still doing kind of new Hollywood stuff. So this is definitely kind of a piece from that time, and so still good to see and kind of get an idea of what that's like.
Cool.
Yeah. And then last thing I got to was Venom, of course. Had to watch the first one before I watched the sequel. So top rated listener Brandon Wozni gave me his voodoo login. Excuse me 1 second as I cough because I cannot hold this in.
Shout out Woz, obviously.
Shout out Woz.
Wash.
So we pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're watching KYOT, the Coyote, Smooth Jazz.
I'm sorry, I tried to stifle that one, but I knew there was no stifling it. So
it's all right. We all filled in for you.
Thank you, Coyote. You're my favorite radio station.
Not a problem.
But yeah, Venom. Shout out Woz for giving me his login on that. It was fine. Didn't love it. It was exactly kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
as far as superhero movies go,
It's a really
pretty
good one
run-of-the-mill.
for 2002.
True. Sorry, this cough will not go away.
Yeah.
Anyway, decent. Nothing really stood out to me about it. It was pretty standard. I didn't love it, but
It's a movie
did
that,
love-
that always felt to me like it was changed ratings in the edit.
That's a.
oh, you think like
I
it was
want
rated
to
R,
talk
they
about
cut out
that
a lot of stuff?
when we talk about
Yes,
Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
I feel like this.
You're onto something.
I feel like this movie was originally shot at an R rating, and then they've edited it to be PG-13 for the first Venom. I think they had a little bit more of an idea of what they were doing on the second one, but
I could definitely get those vibes. Yeah, there was a lot that it felt like it was just like almost getting there, and it just kept undercutting itself almost.
yeah. And if you look at the trailer or the marketing trailers, like it's marketed. The first trailer was marketed as a horror film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I remember when that.
Yeah, I
came
remember
out.
that.
You got that
And it
weird
turns
like
more into like a just standard superhero action movie.
yeah, you got that weird
Saving Grace is Tom Hardy.
right.
It's called
Of course.
what it is.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah, he's
no way
great.
around it.
in both the first one and the second one,
Right.
as we'll get to.
Well,
Yeah, he
great's the right
keeps
word.
on-
It's committed.
Yeah. No, he keeps on being a great actor. So, especially in Venom 2 or Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment of the podcast. Nathaniel, if the
Yes.
listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how our review segment works here at Back Row Banter?
What up, folks? I'm here to give you a rundown if you've forgotten or if you're new. So here it is. We got it split up into two different sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. In the non-spoiler section, we'll introduce the movie, go through its IMDb page, give our first initial thoughts, and then we'll all go around and decide yes or no, do we recommend this movie? It's got to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. From then on, it's going to be the spoiler section. I'll play this sound. The scary one, not the drum shot. Sorry about that. And then it'll be all spoilers all the time. From there on, we'll go into any big spoiler or twists in the movie, go into our deeper thoughts, kind of really dig into it, and then don't worry if you haven't seen it yet, but do come back because we're all gonna come back and rate it. Excuse me, and rank it on our Entropy list, which is our big list. Rate it, which is our big list of everything that we watched on the podcast, ranked. Excuse me, I feel like I did that all in one breath. But take it away, Adam. Tell me about Venom, Let There Be Carnage, potentially the worst titled movie we've had on pod. It's not great.
Yeah, it's not great, but as the title sequence,
I forgot about the Tomorrow War. That will forever
Yeah.
be the worst title in this podcast, I
pretty
think.
bad.
Hi, Blake.
Oh,
Come
Blake
back,
has left
Blake.
the call.
Now
There
he's
he is.
back.
Hi, Blake.
But yeah, as the title sequence came up and it did those letters, like it played out the letters, I was like, this is fine. I'm kind of down for this.
Yeah.
It could be better, that's for sure.
So tell me about your guys' experiences with this, or I guess actually, Adam, tell me about the movie. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of
Yeah, we
myself.
Whichever order you want to do, we can just do the IMDb summary first here quick. This is Venom: Let There Be Carnage, 2021. This is a new film, of course, rated PG-13 with an hour and 37-minute runtime, which I enjoyed a lot. I was very content going into this knowing that it was only like 90 minutes, and as I watched it, I didn't need any more. Gave me just enough, and if it had overstayed its welcome, which I feel like the first movie does a little bit, there's just a lot of almost filler to me in the first one, so I'm glad this one doesn't do that. Directed by Andy Serkis. This is only his 5th directing credit, I believe. You know
Okay.
Andy Serkis from... You probably haven't seen him because he does a lot of CGI work. He's Gollum, he's Caesar. He does a lot of that kind of stuff. But this is going to be his 5th directing credit. The only other ones being... the only other notable one being Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. He directed that in 2018. And then he's got a TV movie credit and... two others, but I think he does a good job here. The writers are just Kelly Marcel, that's who does the screenplay, and Tom Hardy is credited for the story, and then Todd McFarlane and what's the other guy's name? Todd McFarlane and Dave Michelini are credited with the Venom
creators.
creation of the Venom character.
Sure.
Kelly Marcel hasn't done a ton of writing. She only has 6 credits on her IMDb. She has a few episodes of the show Terra Nova, which was like a 2000.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
I watched that as well when I was younger.
Yeah.
Weird show, decent, not anything notable for sure. But then she wrote Saving Mr. Banks in 2013.
Oh, okay.
50 Shades of Grey in 2015.
Heyo.
And then she wrote the original Venom, and she just wrote Cruella. She's actually credited with the story in Cruella. So some writing credits there, a few acting credits as well for her. Let me get back to the IMDb page here. Let's see. Stars. We've got a decent cast here. Tom Hardy, of course, is the lead. Eddie Brock, co-starring with Woody Harrelson and Michelle Williams, who was just on last week.
I was going to say, back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back weeks for her. Good for her. And then another notable actress who I didn't recognize at first, but I realized I could tell I've seen her before, but couldn't spot her. It was Naomi Harris, who plays the mother in Moonlight. If you've seen that movie, she does a very good job there. And does a good job here as well. Sorry, what'd you say? Cut out a little bit for me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was talking over you. That'll be fun for the listeners. I said she's also Calypso in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
She is.
Okay. Discord. The Discord woes. You gotta love it.
Sometimes, I feel like I'm talking to the listeners itself because I'm on the board too. So I feel like I'm a third character that I can sometimes just talk directly to the listeners. Hello, folks.
You definitely can.
But anyways, continue.
I don't have that privilege. But yeah, those are like the main notable actors. Stephen Graham is also has a big role in there, and Reed Scott. Scott, I didn't recognize so much.
I want to talk about Stephen Graham once we get into spoilers a little bit. I have a theory there as well too.
Okay. But yeah, Stephen Graham's been in quite a few things. You've probably recognized him from something. He's got a lot of different credits on his IMDb. But the IMDb summary reads as follows. Eddie Brock attempts to reignite his career by interviewing serial killer Cletus Cassidy, who becomes the host of the symbiote Carnage and escapes prison after a failed execution.
That sucks. Is that completely wrong for the first bit of it, right?
Yeah, that covers about 10 minutes of the film.
Sure.
And nothing else.
Well, and he doesn't try and reignite his career. Cletus just
Venom
kind of does it for him.
Yeah. Cletus kind of just chooses him to do it. But yeah, so sequel to Venom obviously picks up where Eddie Brock left off. It seems like about a year or two has passed since the events of the first film. They don't really give us an exact timeline there. But yeah, Venom is still attached to Eddie Brock, and he's kind of doing freelance writing, it seems like. He's back to reporting, but he's not doing the TV show stuff. And then he gets a call from Cletus Cassidy, who wants to see him for some reason, even though it doesn't seem like they have any connection. He's kind of like, why am I here? And Cassidy uses him to get his message out in some ways. Story progresses, obviously. Cletus Cassidy gets a part of the symbiote from Brock and becomes Carnage, and carnage ensues.
Would you say there's some carnage?
I'd say there's some carnage.
Is there enough carnage in this movie to justify it being called Let There Be Carnage?
I feel like there's they allude to more carnage off screen than on screen.
Okay.
It's like the whole city seems to be in lockdown because they're like, oh, he's out there, everyone get inside.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see him really messing shit up besides 2 scenes where we just see him burning a building and then spoilers, but I might cut that actually. That might be
well,
got ahead of myself.
That kind of gets into my point a little bit, which is that can anyone tell me the plot of this movie beyond it's just that Venom's in it sometimes? Because it starts out with Cletus and a lady, and they're on the run. And then are they even on the run, or are they already in?
They're already captured.
They're already captured. Yeah. And then they're separated.
We're not in spoilers yet either, so just be careful.
No,
Maybe
I know.
Should we converse about this in spoilers? I feel like we're treading
okay, fair enough.
Some thin wall.
We're treading on some thin ice here, boys.
Fair enough.
Treading on thin ice.
Enough.
We already got to cut one thing.
Yeah. We'll talk about it more in spoilers. I definitely want to go where see where you're going with this, Nathaniel.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, we all had to see this in theaters. It was an exclusive theater release here. I had a good time with this, to be honest. I particularly like how they made Venom more of a character, whereas in the first film, they definitely focus on Eddie Brock, and they still do in this one. He's still definitely there, obviously, but Venom just kind of is also just there, and they kind of just set him up as like this thing. But they give him more of a personality in this one. You kind of care about him a little bit more, and in my opinion, they give him some very funny lines. Like this film was a lot more comedic than I thought, and I was actually having a good time with it. I know that style of comedy was probably not hitting for everyone, and I don't know if it was for any of you guys, but for me, it worked pretty well. I don't know if you guys have a take on that, but
I feel like this movie's made for drunk people. I think this movie is designed and made for you to watch it while you're drunk.
I can agree with that to some extent.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't even know if it's better than the first one. This movie is the first movie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. When I'm looking at it, like, I don't really know what the difference is. Carnage and Riot have the same fucking powers where you're just able to weaponize your entire symbiote. It's just, I don't know. It's disappointing. But did we really have high expectations going into this? Tom Hardy's awesome. But and then thinking, hey, it'll be a B-tier superhero movie, right? Anti-hero movie, I guess, is that what Venom is. But yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time distinguishing it from the first one. I think they're equally similar, equally poor written, and it is what it is. It's a mediocre popcorn movie at best. That's my stance on it.
Yeah, Adam, you talk about like the humor not really hitting for us. I didn't particularly enjoy the humor in this. It like tonally, it feels like someone to me it kind of feels like someone or Venom, the anti-hero of Spider-Man, the dark mirror to him, the the extreme 90s version of Spider-Man just feels like they like took the Tom Holland character and gave him a Monster energy drink and told him that he was the bad boy now in some ways. And like, that's like the tone that we're going with. Like, it's like, it's cool because it's not your mom and dad's Spider-Man. It's Venom. It's edgier. And like, for me, that just doesn't really work across a whole movie. God love Tom Hardy. The man's committed. Like, he is, he is going as far as anyone can with this. And so is everyone in there. I mean, everyone here is on board. I think, I think there's a certain amount of knowing what it is. I think Andy Serkis is definitely a more sure-handed director than Ruben Fleischer is. Andy Serkis is he's responsible for a lot of the second unit work on the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit films. He was that's kind of where he learned his directing skills and everything. So you can definitely, I think, see he's comfortable with a big budget movie. But I mean it's lean as mean. It's short, so there's a certain part of me that just kind of gives it a pass on that, but it is not a movie that's for me, or one that I think I'll be coming back to. Yeah.
And real quick, while we're talking about cast, now you mentioned Naomi Harris. She's awesome in 28 Days Later.
Great
if
movie.
anyone who's familiar with that. So, but yeah, man, I don't know. I went in thinking it'd be okay, and it was okay. That's all I can say.
Tyler, where did you come in? I remember you being a pretty big fan of the first one.
Yeah, the first one I didn't mind at all. I think my main stance on that is it's definitely not the best movie or even anywhere close to like my top tier movies, but I definitely didn't hate on it as much as the internet did.
Sure.
But as far as this goes, I think that's kind of on the same page. I think this might slightly outshadow that one. I do think I like this a little bit better.
I agree with you, actually. I think given the choice, if you said, would you watch Venom 1 or Venom 2, I'd pick Venom 2 most of the time.
Yeah.
I would as well.
Okay.
So
Would you pick the first one, Blake?
I haven't seen the first one in a while, but the first one
Okay.
is pretty bad. I mean, granted, I'm watching this first hour and 15 minutes on YouTube.
I was going to say, I haven't just watched it in the background.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't really think about something that I technically watched, but in the hotel room, we the first Venom was on, so I do kind of remember having that on. So, but I've seen it plenty of other times, regardless. But yeah, I think overall, I'd probably go with the second one. So again, I didn't think this was a terrible movie. I think this really gives you an idea of how far apart Marvel is as a studio from Fox.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in the post credits section.
Yep.
Or in the post spoiler section.
So yeah, it's a gap. We'll say that at best, and like Nathaniel, so we'll get into it. But yeah, I didn't hate this. I thought he was overall still in that same kind of mindset he was from the first one. I didn't really think he was like the most epic actor as far as Tom Hardy goes, but I did think he did some okay things, and sometimes he falls a little flat. But Woody Harrelson, love him, did great. And then Shriek was good, Anne's good, even though she's kind of pointless. We'll get into that. But yeah, as far as that goes, and I'm a big fan of Andy Serkis. Like Nathaniel said, he did a lot of the second shift stuff on Lord of the Rings, and that's something I hold him in very high regards to. So, but yeah, other than that, we can kind of get into this thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Recommend?
Interesting take though, Ty. Oh man. The easy answer is yes, because like it's not horrible, but like eventually I have to just like stop recommending shit that I genuinely don't really care for. So I'm just gonna say I wouldn't recommend it.
Random guy walks up to you on the street, yes or no?
Gun to your head, gun to your balls.
Yeah, I'd say no. You can pass on it.
Okay. Blake said no. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I got one more before I'm at Blake levels, so I recommend this. I think, again, if you got an evening free and you've seen the first one, you want to check out the second one, I think it's fine. I genuinely think this movie's made for drunk people on Saturday mornings with their buddies or something. Like, I think that's the target audience.
This is like your hangover Sunday movie.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's like it's the Friday night. We got something on in the background.
You brought home the drunk T-Bell.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got your buddies around. It's like this, like the '90s Mortal Kombat, like this.
I agree.
You're screaming into your remote, Siri, Venom.
Yeah. You don't have to think about it. It's long enough that when it's over, you can kick your friends out and not feel bad about it. But but it is a movie,
Yeah,
sure. Ty?
I would probably be on the side of recommend. There's a lot of stipulations to that recommendation, but if we're just going for overall, go ahead, watch it.
I genuinely think you could watch this one and not the first one. It would not matter.
100%.
Yeah, and now thinking aloud, when Ty said he likes this one more than the first, I'd probably agree with you on that. Just off having Woody Harrelson in it and not the guy who plays. Well, what's the bad guy?
Poor Riz Ahmed. Yeah, they wasted him too.
Yeah.
Michelle Williams needs a new agent too. My God, like she's between this and Greatest Showman.
But yeah, okay. Let's. You guys want to jump into spoilers then?
Adam, what was yours?
I'll say I'm a recommend. Oh, you're good. I'm a recommend overall. Definitely not, when I'm tossing out there often, but the binary yes or no is a yes. So, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a recommend, and we're going to go ahead and get into spoilers here, guys. So if you've not seen Venom, Let There Be Carnage, go ahead and check the episode description where you can see the timestamp I have left for you to jump over spoilers, where you can be taken to our ranking up upon the entropy list. Spoilers.
Shit goes down.
Down. Down. Venom. Venom.
All right, so back to my point. Can anyone tell me the plot of this movie? Because it has completely washed over me, and like I barely remember everything that happens.
So
it's so short.
If we remember correctly, let's kind of like let's run through this as a group, right?
All right.
So they're already locked up between Naomi Harris,
Yes.
What's it? Is it Shriek? Is her name, right?
Which I hate. I hate the characterization of Shriek in this one. I'm used to Shriek being one of the symbiotes, right? And like
right, being a purple symbiote.
Or yellow or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, that's kind of weird.
Is
So
she a
nonetheless,
mutant?
they're in prison, right, or some type of jail
Incarceration.
system. Cletus Cassidy is gonna end up being sentenced to life, right?
Yep.
Due to several murders.
He murdered his family.
He requests to see Eddie Brock, of all people.
Yeah.
Eddie Brock goes there. They get into a confrontation. He pisses Venom off, right? Not necessarily Eddie Brock.
Right.
Venom
puts his arm
the,
through the cage.
Right.
Eddie Cletus bites his arm and has a teaspoon of his blood apparently gets into his mouth. Like enough blood that like if I was like, if Tyler hurt his hand at work or something and I was administering first aid to Tyler, there is no way I would get like I would have more blood on my hands than the amount that gets into Cletus Cassidy here. I'm saying I don't know how this hasn't happened to more people already. I think that people there'd be little mini Venom spinoffs everywhere.
Yeah, right.
But anyways, continue.
DNA.
Yeah, continue.
Right. So then that happens. He turns into Carnage, escapes, finds out his partner is still alive.
Well,
right?
he's
hacking.
Yeah, he's mad because Eddie figured out through Venom powers, figured out where the rest of Cletus's bodies were, so he could no longer negotiate a better sentence for himself or something like that. So that's what made Cletus so mad at Eddie, I guess.
Right. And that's what makes him get the death sentence.
Right.
Because they end up finding all
yeah,
the
so
bodies
Cletus says, "Hey, come watch me die," and Eddie's like, "Okay, sounds good to me," even though Venom's like, "This is a bad idea." And then he bites him. So as they're trying to kill him, Carnage comes out somehow.
Right. Turns into the Tasmanian devil.
Yep.
In the fucking prison system. And tornadoes and fucking breaks out. And then just goes on a rampage. In the meantime,
kills hundreds
Eddie Brock
of people.
And Venom get into some type of confrontation, right, on who should be superior, what Venom should be eating. There's a rule, no humans, so he only lives off chocolate and
chicken brains.
So Venom's upset. They get into a fight. Venom leaves. He goes to a fucking rave and picks up a microphone and vents.
Honestly, I loved that scene.
It's a cool scene, but I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
He's just possessing random druggies too, like apparently.
Yeah. And they're dying.
Like killing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I don't know. So that happens. Then how does Venom come back? I forget. Can somebody fill
Doesn't
that in?
he go to Michelle Williams? Doesn't Lady Venom show up at one point again too? Because whenever Venom
goes to Mrs. Chan.
That's right. Whenever Venom is anyone else, he's just normal Venom. But whenever he's Michelle Williams, for some reason, he's got to have boobs. Like that's the rule.
He turns into another female at some point, and he's male Venom.
And he's
still,
just
and then
normal
he turns into
Venom.
Williams,
Yeah.
and then he's female Venom.
Yeah. They're like, Tom Hardy secretly wants to fuck female Venom. We need to have him in the film, otherwise he walks, guys. I don't know what to do. Someone write it in.
There's a multiverse out there that happens.
I think it might be this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fill it in, Ty. Then so he takes over the Asian lady, right? At kind of
he takes over Miss Chan, and then Anne comes along because she goes and sees Eddie in jail, and then
Okay. Yep.
he's like, you just gotta find him. And of course, she knows exactly where to look.
She only exists to function for Eddie too. Like, and they almost like play on that joke at certain points too, where they're like, "I'm getting married," and she has to get permission from Eddie for some reason. Like, she owes him anything at all.
Yeah.
Well, if we backtrack a tad bit, she actually calls him to meet up for dinner to tell him that she's
that's
getting
kind of a
married.
backhanded thing to do.
Yeah, I'm just like, who
I'm gonna
does
rub it in
that?
your face that I just got engaged.
Yeah, dude. This movie's fucking weird, man.
And then all it
is
takes
odd.
is a couple of words from Anne to basically say, like, Venom, you're like hot, essentially, for him to be like, all right, I'm
He like
in.
just strokes his ego.
Right.
Yeah, I
In
forgot.
front
She
of her
tries to
fiancé,
bang
That was
Venom.
just an odd scene. I felt bad for Dan.
Yeah, everybody feels bad for Dan. It's in
Yeah.
both movies.
There's no
He's bullied
point. Yeah, there's
24/7.
He's a good
no
guy.
point to Dan.
He's a great guy. He helps
Dan,
Brock
man.
out in the first one.
Yeah.
This one he's pouring fire and gasoline on Carnage.
Right. So then, okay, and also what makes me upset then about this is, so finally you get to the climactic fight, right, of
Which
Venom and Carnage.
shows up out of nowhere. It just happens.
Out of nowhere, he just busts into the church. They're gonna get married, and then Venom sees Carnage, and this kind of goes back to when we were first talking about this trailer. So just and kind of my knowledge of the comics and Venom and Carnage, things of that nature. So the reason why Venom is scared of Carnage, he's like, oh shit, it's a red one, because it bonded in his bloodstream.
Yeah.
Right. So their bond is supposed to be that much stronger than a regular person and a symbiote. As we've seen in the first one, some people die. You've seen it even in this one, right? Some people die. They can't really connect with the symbiote. Just for like when they're fighting, like they're obviously not the perfect bonds for each other. Dan even fucking says it as Carnage and Cletus Cassidy are kind of arguing about the girlfriend. And like that's just so backwards of how Carnage is supposed to be. Like he always references himself as like I instead of like us and we
Or
and things
we
of
or
that nature.
anything like that. Yeah.
So it's so weird. Like, I don't know, man. That just turned me off of it so bad. I was like, that's not how it's supposed to be. And I guess it's different sometimes from comic books to movie adaptations. We're aware of that, but
During that scene, Carnage like eats the priest, which is very uncalled for. It was just like, I thought the priest was gonna live, and then he just randomly chops his head off, and I'm like, all right, fine.
And then gets stronger. And then goes through a power up.
he says power up time.
Yeah, power up time. Weird line. Okay. I was low-key thinking that Venom was gonna be like, I'm not strong enough, and he was gonna eat Dan.
Right,
to power
everyone
up
gets
himself.
and
then that's how he was gonna defeat Carnage. That's how I thought it was gonna go.
The movie sets that up. Like in every single version of that, every person's like, "Is he gonna eat Dan right now?"
Yeah,
because it sets up that happening.
Venom hates Dan.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
It's a
I was
silly
ready for that
movie.
to happen. Weird movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought the comedy was working for me. I like how they played Venom up as an actual character rather than just a thing. Like they do in the first one. I think they kind of had to do that more in this one, and they definitely play off of the kind of the dynamic between Venom and Brock a little bit better. So I enjoyed that. Doesn't sound like you guys did as much, but I could definitely see how that humor is not for everyone, and it was very on the line, and so it's definitely not going to hit for most people, I think. But for me, it did.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the humor.
Yeah, I'm with you a little bit. And they kicked that off from the jump with like Venom is just much more of a character in this. Like within the first
for sure.
2 minutes.
Yeah, he's like cooking and like burning shit. And singing and getting the mail.
Right. Because that was one of the very few highlights of the first movie, right? It was just seeing Tom Hardy interact with Venom. So they're like, fuck it, let's just do that times 10. Movie,
so Stephen Graham is very clearly they were like, can we get Mark Wahlberg? Is Mark Wahlberg's contract for Uncharted 4, is that ready yet? Can we just go ahead and get him over in here too? Because he is just playing a Mark Wahlberg ripoff. Like he just walked off the set of The Departed and is now in this movie for some reason.
He's a stunt double.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, that was one of the thoughts that I had while we were watching it.
Also, is that he's alive still and his eyes glowed. What happened there? Do we know?
I've completely forgot that was a plot point. You're right. That does happen at some point.
Do we know where that's
I'm with
going? Is that?
Nathaniel
I
on
mean,
that.
I think
looks like it's
someone
setting up
said he's
something
another
later, but-
character or something like that. Yeah. He's just
don't
like
know.
he's beaten into gaining superpowers, right? Like that was
Kinda.
the plot line there.
I think his line is like they're all monsters or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So then let's go to post-credit scene. So Venom is now in
The multiverse.
the multiverse, and it's implied that he's going to show up in No Way Home.
No Way Home. Yeah.
Which,
That'd be
as
cool.
we've kind of referenced, the quality difference between those movies is just astronomical at this point. So do you guys have any excitement for these two crossing over at this point in your life?
I do. I definitely
Yeah.
do. That scene got me very excited. Obviously, it's going to be Marvel that would be handling this, and this also kind of completes the Sinister Six that they've been teasing
Okay.
between the trailer. So this would make him, because now they have Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Sandman, Electro, Venom. I guess they would need one more that maybe I'm forgetting. I guess
Scorpions.
maybe the Lizard if he's showing up.
Scorpion is
Yeah.
also out
Or the
there.
Scorpion.
Scorpion. Sorry,
Yeah.
Scorpion.
But this Venom's not a villain.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. Tom Hardy made a comment a few weeks back saying he'd love to see Venom and Spider-Man team up in a movie, I believe is the word he used. I don't know if he said he wants them to do a movie together or if he said he wants them to team up. I remember Woz wrote in a few weeks back saying or commenting on Venom and saying that in the comics, Carnage was the original villain where Venom and Spider-Man had to team up to defeat him.
Yeah.
Right.
so
That's
maybe
how
they set him
powerful
up.
he is.
Yeah, maybe they set him up that. So I don't know. It'd be strange based off that comment Tom Holland made, or sorry, not Tom Hardy. Sorry, wrong British actor. Makes it seem like he isn't in Nowhere Home, but post-credit scene
He
definitely.
might be a post-credit scene in No Way
maybe.
You think he just like shows
That'd
up
be
in the
really
background or
disappointing.
something?
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he shows up for a split second. Maybe he's not that big of a character, but that would be really disappointing to set something up like that if he's not going to be in it or a main character. So we'll have to see. We're only 2 months out from Nowhere Home or No Way Home,
Okay.
so we're coming up on that pretty quick.
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
Woody Harrelson's
you know,
funny.
yeah, there's things that are good and things that are bad, but I think the things that kind of bother me the most is the fact that, like Blake pointed it out earlier, like that's a red one, and he says it in the first one, like Riot's like a team leader. Like, give me more of that. What does that
Right.
look like? Why is a red one so bad? Have you
Right.
seen a red one before? Has this happened before? Like, he's apparently supposed to be red because he merged with blood, and now you've seen red ones before. So has this happened? Why is he so bad? Give me like 2 hours. Give me a little bit more background on that kind of stuff, and I think this flows a lot better. I think it has to move at a fast pace though, just because they're trying to just shove so much in there.
And
And
like I
it-
said, not
it
spoilers.
feels
I'm
rushed.
glad it did.
Yeah,
You really think I felt like it was a great pace. I wish I didn't want it to be any longer. I felt like I said before, the first one has a little bit of bloat to it, and this one just felt a lot more concise to me. And it
Yeah, it's
moved
only
at a
like an
good
hour
pace
and
for me.
40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this is,
Yeah,
45 minutes,
137.
something like that.
this just doesn't
yeah, I
feel
was
like
gonna say a
anything.
little less.
I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel like anything to me. It just
Yeah.
feels like the
I'm with you, dude.
as kind of Blake has said it's the next thing. And like I don't know, Sony is so hell bent on creating this universe, and they keep talking about it. You know, has anyone even heard or cared about anything with Morbius since
Yeah, right.
June
they're all
or
gonna
January of
just announce it.
2020? You know,
Right.
and they're supposed to take over this thing from Marvel. I mean, it doesn't seem possible to me. And I just
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see what that crossover looks like. And I mean, you look at Homecoming and everything that Tom Holland has done, and it's good. It's really good.
right.
And I'm just curious as to how they're gonna float this over. Going back to the guys, Mulligans, whose eyes were glowing.
Sure.
That's to symbolize that a symbiote got into him as well, or a little bit of Carnage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that is actually supposed to become someone or another symbiote named Toxin, who is essentially Carnage's son, like Carnage is Venom's son.
Right.
So that's what that's kind of alluding to potentially in this final merging of Spider-Man and Venom that we'll get. I don't like how they make Venom like not essentially really have any powers. Like Riot does cool stuff, and Carnage does cool stuff, and then Venom's just like a brute.
Isn't that because, Venom's supposed to be based off Spider-Man, but since he's never encountered Spider-Man in this universe,
Right.
he can't really do his whole thing?
Correct. So you're right, Nathaniel. So that's why usually like when he can web and stuff, it's because he's already got some of Spider-Man's DNA. And I think that's kind of another thing of why I just kind of have frustrations with the second one. And even the first one for that matter. It just seems like Riot and Carnage just like pretty much have the exact same fucking powers, man. Like they're able to weaponize their entire body and shoot things and shoot projectiles and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't really know what's the difference.
Well, I mean,
the two of them.
The crazy part too is like Venom is like more agile than what they show him in this, and by the part of him being a brute, I think he should have powers, or like they should showcase more of it. But like, you don't see him swing. You just see him fucking crawling up buildings, throwing hundreds of pounds of gravel at people below, and like nothing happens of it. Nobody ever notices that a giant monster just ran up their building. I would rather, the cool thing I always thought about Venom is that the web, or whatever you want to call it, maybe it's a piece of him, shoots out from the top of his hand versus the bottom of his wrist like Spider-Man's does. And I would really like to see that kind of detail put into it. And again, it's kind of hard because technically, like Nathaniel said, he hasn't met Spider-Man yet, so maybe that'll be something they'll adapt into, and gets into a tussle with Spider-Man and gets a little bit of his DNA mixed in, so maybe it makes him transform his powers a little bit more. Who knows? But yeah, there's definitely a lot of little things that I could nitpick kind of all night, but I still think it's a solid enough movie for me to be like, oh, well, I'd rather watch that than the first one. And the humor did get to me. I think my favorite line is at the end, where typically when villains always kind of drag out this, I'm gonna kill this good guy, and it's gonna take me 10 minutes, so that way there's time for somebody to come and save his ass.
Caught me monologuing. You sly dog.
I have found myself over the years kind of hating that more and more. And so the sooner somebody just offs somebody that much quicker just makes me very satisfied. Like in Deadpool, where he's just like, well, you basically just said the thing that I was keeping you alive for, so there's no point in this. And he's like, any last words, he doesn't even care. He just shoots him in the face. And you're like, oh my God, that's awesome. So the same thing with this. I like that he's like holding up Cassidy, and he's basically just, Cassidy, and he's just like, I wanted to be your friend, and then Venom's just like, fuck this guy. And then just bites his head off. So that's definitely a nice little bow on the end of the movie that I think they did right. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that I could keep going on as far as what's
is Shriek a mutant?
Not that great.
Is Shriek a mutant in this? Is my last question. Like what?
You would think.
Gotta be.
Right? Like is that where her powers are coming from?
Wrap this up into Spider-Man. You can go anywhere you want now. The multiverse has been opened by so many different things, different shows that have been on, and how many hints they've dropped on in other movies and stuff like that. So yeah, I think you can pretty much do whatever you want. And yeah, I think it's safe to say that she's just a mutant.
We'll have to see.
Is that about sum up everyone's thoughts?
That's about it. We're running a little long on time here. Not too pressed, but we should probably be heading out of spoilers. So welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoilers segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and rank Venom, Let There Be Carnage, up upon the Entropy list for those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies, rather doing it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is. We throw up all the movies we review on one list and see how they compare to one another. If you'd like to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description, where it is linked to my Letterboxd. This is gonna be an interesting one, I think. I scrolled too far up. Gotta scroll back down. Anyone got an early idea of where they might be putting it?
I do.
Go ahead, Nathaniel. Let her rip.
57.
57.
I knew you were gonna put it there.
Putting it right below Wonder Woman and above
Pretty
F9.
easy for me.
It's not a bad spot. Not
Yep.
a bad spot at all.
I felt it feels right.
I'll second that motion just because of where Wonder Woman is. I might argue for 56 just because
You're silly.
but I think it's very safe going above F9.
So are you
Yeah.
at 56 then, Ty?
No, I think I'm gonna stay at 57.
All right, 57 for Ty, Nathaniel, Blake.
Yeah, looking here, I think that's the best place for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to agree as well. I think we're kind of unanimous here on
Let's
57.
go.
It's not
It's been a
horrible,
while.
right?
It's not terrible.
I think if it was
When's the
any
last time we
longer,
had a unanimous decision?
if it was
Have you
any
ever had a
longer and any
unanimous decision?
sillier.
Yeah, we've had unanimous.
Yeah, lots of times.
Well, early on for sure, but since this list has gotten longer, I feel like we've always been like apart a little bit. There was one recently where it's like 3 out of 4 of us had the same spot, and I think Ty was the only one to disagree. Maybe I don't know. It's been a bit, I think, since we've had all 4 of us agree.
Yeah. Highest charting new movie is still The Green Knight at 13.
That's
Hey,
funny.
it should stay up there for a while. I mean, if something can top it, by all means, I want to go see that movie. But that movie's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
have had Malignant at like 4, but
We could have. Oh, I would have loved it. Oh, I would have loved it.
What?
That's still
Four?
crazy
We
to
are.
me.
no, I'm bullshit. I'm bullshit.
But where did the Malignant land again?
31, bro.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right
That's
where
almost
it
worse than
belongs.
That's almost worse than the Descent ranking.
10 months from now, you guys are going to be like, wow, maybe not agreeing with it that much, but I still
It's really
think
panned out.
I think 10 months from now, I'm going to be like, I need to rewatch that movie. It was so good.
we'll see.
We'll see. All right, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, officially slotted in at 57th with the unanimous ranking. That's right below Wonder Woman and above F9. I've said that already, but just a reminder. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, you can look forward to a review of No Time to Die, 007, baby. 3 years and some change after it was supposed to come out, something like that. Who knows? Will it come out next week? We don't know. Maybe it'll get delayed again.
I'll believe it when I
That'd be
see
fun.
credits roll.
Yeah. But go ahead and watch that. What's the runtime on that? Those movies are always long.
That
I
one's like
think it's gotta be
245. I'll bet you. I'll bet you pushing 3.
We have guesses here.
222 is my final guess.
222,
Over under
I'll call
230.
it 237.
237. Nathaniel,
240.
240. I would have loved to have guessed before I looked it up, but I already did. 2 hours and 43 minutes. So Nathaniel, you are the winner on Price is Right. Time is right, I should say.
You got to remember 3
yeah,
minutes
this is gonna
for
be a
a
long one.
3 minutes for a Bond intro song at least. Another 15
Yeah.
for credits.
Yeah.
It's the
This
last
is-
one.
Have you guys heard reviews for this yet? I've heard it's not the best.
I've only
I have
heard good
not.
things.
I have not, and I'll probably stay away from them just because of my feelings towards this movie already.
Okay. Well,
I like Carrie Fukunaga a lot, so I think at the end of the day it will look beautiful regardless.
I'm always down for some good cinematography and directing. Give it to me. All right, so catch that in theaters. That's exclusively in theaters. I don't believe it's coming to Paramount Plus. So, yeah, go watch it there. Nathaniel, any 5-star reviews?
No 5 stars reviews, but if you are listening to us and you want to give us a 5-star review, I will read it out here on the podcast. You can say anything you want, just don't be evil. But good, bad, funny, indifferent, whatever you want to say, put it out there. And for 5 stars, you'll hear us say it. That's the rules.
Cool. Please share the podcast. Share it with a friend.
Yep.
A family member. An inmate who's calling you up randomly, a symbiote. When your ex-fiance calls you up and tells her she's engaged, just slap her in the face and then also say, hey, since you're a jerk, you should listen to this podcast because I think you'd like it.
Maybe don't slap her because we don't condone violence of any kind, really. But you can always recommend the podcast to her as, a verbal slap. And what we'll say is, hey,
verbal slap, yeah.
Ex-fiance, that was a mean thing you did. Maybe it was justified, but, feelings were hurt.
If you have a symbiote, in you and it just so happens to slap
we can't do anything about that, can we?
Not your ex, but her future husband, then so be it.
Yeah. That's true. But just say, and recommend Back Row Banter.
There you go. Back Row Banter, the #1 show for symbiotes everywhere. That's what they say. Did you guys hear?
I had heard that on Symbiote Twitter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Symbiotes.
That's probably an interesting place. I can only imagine the tweets are like brains, chicken.
Yeah, I'm big on there. My simple tweeting style really gets a good following there.
I'd like to think my symbiote likes sour candy instead of chocolate. Yeah.
I can agree with that. That sounds great. I could go for some Sour Patch Kids right now. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Let's get out of here, guys. Follow us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and on YouTube. Subscribe to us there, even if it's not your primary place of listening. That is just Back Row Banter. And then our email for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, any questions you want to ask us for a little banter at the end of the shows here. We love doing that. Send us that stuff at backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some stuff. As I keep saying, I have been faithful on logging everything I am currently watching. So that's always nice. Rating things out of 5 stars. I try to do that for each one. Then I'll put down some notes for something I really like. So we'll see what that is. Clearly, it wasn't Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Maybe Halloween Kills, Antlers, something of that nature that I'm kind of heavily anticipating. But yeah, that's about it for me. We'll push it over to Ty.
You can find me on Twitch every now and then, twitch.tv/El Trabajo, ELTRABAJO 87, and Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter are all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES. Adam.
Hi. You can find me on Twitter at H24 and on Letterboxd. Haven't been active on there. I want to. Maybe I'll do it sometime this week. Start backlogging a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff to backlog. But yeah, find me on there. Nathaniel?
You can find me on Letterboxd and Twitter at NSGingrich. You can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Check out my other podcast, Sandpiper Tapes. My friend actually posed me a question this week, and he asked, what is the scariest movie I have ever experienced? And it made me curious because I often recommend scary movies, based off of, kind of a whole bunch of things, but very rarely do I recommend them or get them recommended just because the experience itself was super, super scary. So if any of the listeners have anything like that, feel free to, Twitter at me or tag me or do whatever you got to do, or send an email into the podcast. I'm looking for recommendations for October. So scariest movie you have ever seen. I want to know what it is.
Nice. I might take you up on that. I'd be intrigued by that too. Please let us know.
Send us some horror recs for October. We'd love to talk about them on pod.
Sure.
Maybe get featured in what we're watching.
True.
Yeah.
Give me some more foreign stuff too. I'm ready for all that good shit.
Give me some foreign American adaptations. I am not ready for that stuff. Keep that away from me.
Did you ever watch Audition, Nathaniel? I know we talked
Nah,
about it
I do
briefly.
need to get to audition still. I've got
Yeah.
so many of like I think this is an off-pod conversation, but yes, I've got got quite a few like on a list that I feel like I've been saving for a while. So we'll see
I haven't watched it either though, so yeah, maybe we can get up and try to do that or something.
for sure.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 73. Join us next week for No Time to Die. We'll BRB.
Hey everyone, be excellent to each other, and we will BRB.
Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you listening. And please like, comment, subscribe. Do whatever you got to do to help us grow. We appreciate it. I think we are somewhere over 5,000 downloads thus far. Maybe. I'm pretty sure we are. I'll double check. But yeah, we appreciate it. Anything you do does help us, word of mouth, or just talking about it to anybody, or just pressing like, comment, or subscribing on some 5-star reviews too. But yeah, just go ahead.
We are 25 downloads away from 5,000. So after this episode's up, we'll probably hit that.
Perfect. So
Yes, sir.
we appreciate it. Just be kind to one another. You never know where anybody else is at on their journey. So just pass that along, and we'll BRB.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting the podcast, however it may be. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever it is, greatly appreciate it. Also want to make a quick shout out to Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac it would have been his birthday today. So rest in peace, a comedy legend. Please go watch the Bernie Mac show, Transformers, whatever it may be, whatever you know him from. Feel free to turn it on, support. That stuff I'm sure goes a long way to the royalties and everything of his family. Outside of that, stay positive. Everybody have a great month of Halloween. Please watch something scary for me. And we'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Man, that movie works hard to make Riz Ahmed boring.
True.
Venom is on sale on Vudu, the first one.
I guess that makes
For
sense.
free.
I mean, they still want fucking $10 though. I thought.
What
Holy
the
shit.
fuck?
Yeah,
Get out of here.
I thought they were gonna say $6.99. They would
I
have
was
had a
about to
purchase.
say, I'll buy it for like $1.
Yeah, 10. I don't know about that one.
Got
Man.
you $1.
You lost a potential customer.
Pretty sure I own the first Venom, but I'm not going
You
out in the
do.
living room to get it.
You do own the first Venom. Can confirm.
I do
Real
like how
friendship
they.
when you know what your friend owns more than them.
True.
I do like that they gave Eminem. Okay, we'll go ahead and restart that. Eminem, a redemption at the
Venom.
I noticed that.
Oh, Venom.